Hi everyone, we're going to be creating Make and Take number 1. You'll start with a small baggie of items that are marked Make and Take 1, and you'll need the Full of Flowers stamp with the coordinating clear fills. You have a card base, a piece of white cardstock, and a small banner cut from Guava cardstock. You're going to start by setting up that large background stamp in your MISTI, stamping it down onto the grid paper with your Oreo ink so that you have a guide for where to place your white sugar cube cardstock. Once you have that, you'll put a little bit of adhesive in the center in order to hold that cardstock down, centering it over the image that you stamped onto the grid paper. Then you'll stamp again with the Oreo ink, this time directly onto your white cardstock. And you can do that over again if you feel like you want a more crisp black image. Once you've finished stamping the image onto your sugar cube cardstock, you remove it from your MISTI, and then if you hold it up against the Toffee card base, you can see this piece is exactly the same size as the card base, but we want it to sit right inside of the card base edge. So we're going to use a paper trimmer to cut this down. Cut it at 4 by 5¼ inches, and that will fit right inside the Toffee card base layer. Now we're going to fill in all of the flower images using the clear stamp set that came with this set. Grab that along with an acrylic block. In order to condition your stamps the first time that you use them, you can rub across them with your thumb, or you can use an eraser to condition them. And I always stamp off onto my placemat before going on to my project, just to make sure I get a good inking on that very first stamp. I'm using Peapod ink to fill in the multi-layered leaf on the background. And once I've filled in all of those spots, I will begin again with the lime zest ink and the larger solid leaf. This ink is a little bit more bright, and once those are all filled in, I'll continue on with another leaf, again using Peapod for the smaller single leaf that's on the daisy flower. And we'll continue on with one more leaf. There is a 2-leaf piece, and we'll stamp that with the sweet basil ink. This one is the one that comes off of all of the rose images. Now that all of our greenery is finished, we can continue with the flowers. So we'll start with the Guava ink to fill the large rose. This is the kind of blob-ish looking stamp. Just rotate it until you find exactly where it's supposed to fit. And these stamps are not perfect, and so they're very forgiving as you add them to your background. You don't have to have them exactly inside the outline image, and they're actually not made to fit perfectly within the outline image. So after using the Guava ink, we are going to use the pineapple ink, and this is going to be for the smaller daisy flower. This one's a little bit more difficult to line up because those petals are all very similar, but just rotate it around until you find that correct spot. And last, we'll fill in the tulip with the peaches and cream ink. Once your entire background has been colored in with those clear stamp images, we can do the next step, which is embossing our banner with a sentiment. So this comes from the double-ended flag Stacklets die set, and the sentiment is from the Friendly Phrases stamp set. You should have that on your bulk panel at the top left. We're going to stamp in Versamark on that banner, making sure you've aligned that on your acrylic block so that it's straight. I forgot to use the powder tool, but if you have a powder tool, you can use that before you do your Versamark stamping in order to keep your embossing powder off of the areas that you don't want it to stick to. It ended up being fine on this project, and I'll heat that across so that the sentiment is embossed with the white embossing powder on the Guava cardstock banner. Now we have all of our pieces finished, and we can just assemble the card using a tape runner to adhere that patterned background to the Toffee card base. And then we will use some foam squares to pop up the thank you sentiment. You could put this wherever you wanted. On this project, I have it down towards the bottom of the card front, but you could choose to put it in the middle or at the top. I put mine in the middle for a little bit different look on this one. That was quick and easy, and so many different combinations you could use to create this card. I hope you had fun.